EarthCorps is a beloved organization to many around the globe. More than 1,000 emerging global environmental leaders have walked through our doors. And here in the Puget Sound region, we've helped care for our green spaces by planting more than 1.7 million trees and restoring more than 10,000 acres. Along the way, we've created a strong community of supporters and have made lots of friends. Perhaps you're one of them. Let's take a walk down memory lane together. We'll see just how EarthCorps came to be the organization we know today and check out what the future might hold. Ready to go? We're headed back to the year 1993. Seattle, Washington looked pretty different from today, but we can be fairly certain that it was raining when Dwight Wilson formally founded the organization that would become EarthCorps. Dwight loved his experience in the Peace Corps, but found it very one-directional. He thought, what if young people everywhere, not just in the US, had the opportunity to travel across the globe in service of a better world? Dwight gathered a group of like-minded individuals and had many living room conversations about what it would take to bring young people from around the world together to work side by side, building cross-cultural understanding while caring for our planet. Dwight could think of no better place than the Pacific Northwest to launch the world's first truly international conservation corps. What emerged was Cascadia Quest.
We knew in 1993 that we had a good idea and that the world was ready for it. But we didn't know what it would take to make a truly self-sustaining organization and to make real lasting impact. And that was very important to us. And ultimately, it was a massive team effort getting Cascadia Quest off the ground. But we were all so proud to be doing something so innovative.
The team behind Cascadia Quest put in long hours, drew in new supporters, and by the end of March 1994, they had led 2 3-week programs for 100 young adults from around the world in a groundbreaking effort to combine environmental restoration with global cooperation. In 1995, Cascadia Quest partnered with King County to launch the King County World Conservation Corps. This partnership set the foundation for EarthCorps. It allowed us to keep our focus on building relationships across cultures while conserving the legacy of natural beauty in the Puget Sound. We built education directly into that model, a focus that's been with us ever since.
What I always love about EarthCorps is the emphasis on learning and growing. From the very beginning, education was built into the program. We will be in the field for 4 days and then spend every Friday or every other Friday in workshops exploring topics from ecology to cross-cultural communication.
By 1999, we had formed a strong community with a lot of enthusiasm, but not a lot of funding. When we hired Steve Dubiel to be our second executive director, the organization was $160,000 in debt. But that didn't faze Steve. He saw the power of the vision and was determined to bring about a new chapter in our organization's story.
I want to set the scene for where we had this interview with Steve. It was in the basement of the old church with old carpet and low ceilings. We were seated around the table, having just come in from trying to jumpstart one of the vans. So we read the resume of Steve and were impressed and looking forward to his arrival, but we weren't prepared for this guy who arrived in a suit. And my memory is that it was pinstripe and fabulous tie and everything. Charlie, who knew how to talk to suits, started out the interview. It went very well. He had all the qualifications. The interview was over, and I remember just looking at each other thinking, oh my God, how do we work with somebody in a suit? Obviously we did, and it has been wonderful, and I don't think the suit ever was seen again.
Within a short period of time, Steve began to turn things around, and under his leadership, the organization started to hit its stride. The year 2000 was a big one for us. To start off, we officially changed our name to EarthCorps. We also moved to Seattle's Magnuson Park, our current home.
We were being pushed out of our office in the heart of the Central District at the peak of the dot-com bubble, and I can remember driving around at midnight looking for locations. We didn't know it at the time, but being based out of Magnuson Park would be a perfect fit for us and our home for decades to come as we grew.
By this time, we were working with about 30 Corps members a year. These cohorts of young adults spent their days in the field restoring our region and building lasting friendships.
EarthCorps is like a family to me. Over 8 years, I have stayed connected to my Seattle homestay family, and friends from all over the world. Each person at EarthCorps helped me to be who I am now. And because of EarthCorps, I have a huge global community of friends that's all about connection, support, and love.
In the early 2000s, EarthCorps entered a period of immense growth. Our program was filled with young adults who were energized about making a difference. So it was a no-brainer to expand our work to an even younger generation. Our Corps members began to lead hands-on projects for school kids from across the region. It was yet another way to forge connections, learn by working together, and inspire lifelong environmental awareness. For some of our Corps members, working with the younger generation is what launched their careers.
When I was a Corps member, working with kids was really a highlight for me. I loved seeing how excited they were to learn in the outdoor space and how I could help them discover new things. Leading hands-on events with youth definitely confirmed for me my passion in working with them.
It was at EarthCorps that the two of us met actually and discovered our shared passion for marine ecology and working with youth. We just recently started our own organization, See Potential, that focuses on engaging youth of color in healing activities and ocean justice conversations in order to foster youth appreciation and connection to marine ecosystems. So I'll always be grateful to EarthCorps for bringing us together so we can do this important work.
We knew that to really grow the environmental restoration movement in the Pacific Northwest, we needed to get the community involved. In 2000, we launched our first volunteer initiative with a lofty goal of planting 200,000 trees in 1 year along the Seattle region's I-90 corridor. People said it was impossible to plant that many trees with volunteers. But in typical EarthCorps fashion, we rolled up our sleeves and said, "We got this." Our community showed how powerful it is, and we ended up breaking 2 records that year. 5,000 community volunteers pitched in to plant 226,000 trees. Talk about making a difference. Also during this time, our international program had really matured. More than 130 Corps members from across the globe had participated in EarthCorps' program from more than 50 countries, including Brazil, Bulgaria, Ecuador, Ghana, Guatemala, India, Japan, Kenya, Nepal, and Russia, just to name a few. Our international community was growing so much that we even helped to facilitate volunteer trips abroad for our supporters and alumni.
An example of that exchange is when I was a Corps member, there were multiple Corps members from the Philippines that had come over that year that were sponsored by the Palawan Conservation Corps. After my Corps member year, I ended up joining the Palawan Conservation Corps as a U.S. Peace Corps member and was able to sponsor EarthCorps alumni to come over to the Philippines and do environmental stewardship work with us there.
By 2001, EarthCorps was starting to get noticed. When a local nonprofit focused on fostering volunteerism and advocating for urban trees approached us about merging, we were all for it. Inviting the community to join us in caring for our local parks had an obvious impact on the land, and we learned over the years that it had a deep impact on people as well.
So I have 2 kids, and my wife and I are doing all we can to raise them with a love of the outdoors. A deep sense of obligation to be good stewards of the environment. It's a huge reason I'm involved with EarthCorps. And I've been volunteering with EarthCorps for the past 10 years and have even brought my kids out with me. Just seeing them plant trees has just been super inspirational for me to keep doing this work.
By 2003, we were finding our groove and the local restoration movement was really taking off. We launched Ivy Free in 2003 with the goal of making Seattle's iconic Seward Park ivy-free. Though we didn't get rid of all the ivy, with the help of about 5,000 volunteers, we did remove 42 acres of it. This project paved the way for the Green Seattle Partnership, the largest urban forest restoration project in the country. In 2004, EarthCorps had the opportunity to expand again by merging with an organization that had expertise in the backcountry. This new merger allowed our Corps members to gain new experiences, building trails, restoring remote areas, and taking advantage of all that the wilderness can offer.
So we were on an intensive 10-day-long trip, and I've never done anything like this before, so I had no idea what it was going to look like. The feeling why you have to save the nature, or like why you want to save the nature, doesn't come unless you have been in that setting and enjoyed the nature yourself. After 10 days of camping next to a beautiful lake and working and just building trails, eating blueberries, just made me realize that, oh, okay, this is what I really want to do.
Now, I want to take a second to brag a little. In 2007, Wangari Maathai, Nobel Peace Prize winner and founder of the Green Belt movement, who empowered the world to combat deforestation through tree planting, visited Seattle, and while she was here, she planted trees with EarthCorps. I know this isn't central to our history, but it was such a cool moment that I wanted to share it. Now, back to our story. Up until about 2009, EarthCorps was known as the Doers. We knew how to tackle projects and get things done. However, merging with Seattle Urban Nature, known as SUN, brought ecological integrity to the work we were already doing.
Our merger with SUN also brought the science of ecological restoration to EarthCorps. We now have the capacity to engage our Corps members in vegetation monitoring and restoration best management practices, and to work with our partners to create long-term management plans.
By 2012, the EarthCorps legacy was apparent on the Western Washington landscape. Over 100,000 volunteers had gotten their hands dirty with us. Our Corps members were building trails, working in the backcountry, and improving both streams and forests. Each day, they were making a big impact on the land and waters of Puget Sound. After so many years of growth, we did what most 20-year-olds would do. We began to wonder, who did we really want to be? What did we want people to get out of our program? In 2012, we found new ways to show off our bold identity. We updated our logo, and we embraced our identity as a hard-working, passionate, and fun organization. We also clearly declared ourselves as optimists.
We all know that talking about the environment can feel like a sea of doom and gloom. But at EarthCorps, we've always been home to hopeful visionaries creating a more cooperative and sustainable future. You can tell by the energy our Corps members bring each year. They're dedicated to making this world a better place and are committed to being part of the solution.
During this time, we also prioritized leadership as our central strategy. From the beginning, there was an assumption that leadership was important to our program, and our Corps members were clearly gaining practical, hands-on leadership experience in the field. But we realized it was time to formalize our focus on leadership. Developing environmental leaders became central to our work.
I've learned that leadership is about taking responsibility for the growth of the people around you. Being a leader is not about being the best or doing all the things. It's about supporting people and their ability to work together to make an impact. No matter how many books you read or how organized you are, leadership is adaptive and recognizes that what makes a strong team is the diversity of thought, experience, and background of the people involved.
Throughout the next decade, we would work hand in hand on developing the next generation of environmental leaders with caring for the lands and waters of Puget Sound. In the background of all these yearly milestones, we were continuing to work hard out in the field. We worked to ensure that coastal wetlands were restored in order to effectively mitigate climate change and reduce carbon pollution. We helped develop the nation's first community-based comprehensive stewardship program where we monitor and maintain sites in Commencement Bay in perpetuity. We removed quite literally tons of toxic creosote-coated logs from remote beaches in the San Juan Islands. And we created a guide of best practices for native pollinator habitat restoration in the Puget Sound region. By 2018, EarthCorps was involved in hundreds of projects each year, providing a plethora of hands-on opportunities for our Corps members. And so, in honor of our 25th anniversary, we increased the size of our Corps by 25% in order to provide even more opportunities for young adults to enter into the environmental field. After years of working on our region's natural areas, we started to reflect on the impact our organization had and could have in the future. Although our program strives to create a safe and welcoming environment for everyone, we were not adequately integrating racial equity into our programs and practices. If we really wanted people and nature to thrive together, we needed to shift our work to address the fact that environmental threats disproportionately impact people of color. Across the United States, people of color are more likely to be exposed to and harmed by poisons in the air, water, and soil. In 2019, we committed to building a race equity culture at EarthCorps to foster the type of equity-minded environmental leaders our world needs, creating a movement that is inclusive of everyone. This is a journey, and we still have a lot to learn and a lot to change, but we are committed to this path. And then, 2020 hit. There's no easy way to put it. The global pandemic impacted our work significantly.
We know Corps members deeply value the self-confidence, self-awareness, and strong relationships they've built through our program, which are key to the kind of leadership that we hope to foster. But the pandemic meant no workshop days together and no retreats with endless burrito bars and fireside chatting, just remote video calls. For this to happen at a time when the important work of uprooting racism and white supremacy calls us to be our most open and vulnerable with each other, it was definitely one of the toughest times the program has been through. We've realized how important it is to allow Corps members to find connection and to make meaning in their own ways. We're working to center the ideas and voices of Corps members and to foster connections rather than engineer them as a staff. This is a part of our work to build a transparent and inclusive space where deep connection can happen.
At its essence, EarthCorps is about bringing people together to care for the health of our planet. Our Corps program has helped restore natural areas in the Pacific Northwest, but our legacy is deeper than that. Our program has been an inflection point for many young adult environmentalists, a catalyst for global leaders who are helping to conserve not only the Puget Sound, but also the world's natural places. The more than 1,000 EarthCorps alumni from nearly 80 countries in the world are our hope for the future. The many faces and the many stories that have come through EarthCorps have had a profound impact on the lands and waters of Puget Sound. But perhaps more importantly, they have had a profound impact on each other. They've taught one another how to listen across differences, to act in solidarity, to lead with courage and empathy, to open their hearts and minds to new ways of being and doing. They are now working in governments, nonprofits, companies, and schools across the globe, taking a piece of all they learned at EarthCorps wherever they go. Because of our alumni, we have many reasons to be hopeful for our future.